Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the Ted Show. Today I have a very patient and flexible friend on the show, and that you can just do some research on. He has been scheduled a few times, and I unfortunately have had to reschedule him. So I want to publicly thank you for your graciousness, Doug. This is Doug Leedy, and today we're going to talk about how to monetize and humanize your real estate business. He's got his own. He's got a lot of thoughts and insights on that, and we're going to learn more about that. Welcome, Doug. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Ted. I'm doing fine for a Monday.
It is Monday, President's Day.
Okay.
Lots going on. Um, so you have been patient. Thank you. I read your bio on LinkedIn. I think I love some of the things that you did, and I absolutely love this topic since I live in the real estate world itself as a mortgage professional. I'll use the word professional lightly. As a mortgage person, I am fascinated by the word humanize. Monetize, we all get, but how to humanize as well. And so I'm looking forward to your insights. But before we go down that path, I told you before we went live that it's super important for the audience to get to know you. So tell them a little bit about your journey and your 411, Doug.
Okay. I am a native of Ohio. I lived in a small town in a rural area of Ohio, Northeast Ohio, for 62 years. Moved down here to South Florida 10 years ago. And I have been in real estate for almost 50 years. I have been a full-time realtor. I have been a full-time appraiser. I have been an investor off and on during that period. And I am now what I call a guide. I don't call myself an educator, but I call myself a guide because I think it's important for people in real estate to understand that there's more than one way to do real estate. A lot of people get so hung up on getting that real estate license and listing and selling that they miss the rest of it.
They think it's all glamorous, right? They think you're popping champagne bottles, you're riding in limos, you're selling houses are super easy, and you're making seven, 8 figures right out the gate.
Yeah, it certainly isn't like that.
It's
Those 8 o'clock Saturday night in the middle of a party phone calls, they aren't real fun sometimes.
So before we dive into what you do, because I think it's important, I do want to talk about this topic. I love it. I've never had anybody on use the word humanize when it comes to real estate. And I think that's such an important thing. Why real estate? You said you've been practicing it for 50 years. And as you said in your bio, you're a young 72. Tell me what got you into real estate. Were you one of those people that somebody said, Doug, you should do real estate? Or did you always have a passion for it?
Nope, I did not. And I don't know of a kid that ever grew up and said, I want to be in real estate.
No one.
Yeah. But I was going to coach and teach. And that was the first failure of the education system for me. I went to college, went to 4 years of college. My last semester, I did my student teaching. And I found out I didn't have the patience to teach. So I was SOL. And there I was with my bare face hanging out, and I had no idea what I was going to do. So for a couple of years, I did this, I did that just to be doing something. And then I bought my first house. When I bought my first house, going through that process, I thought, this is kind of interesting. Maybe I could make a living doing this. That's how I got started.
Isn't that amazing? And a lot of times, so it's usually it's either that story, I went through my own, I either had a good or a bad experience and that motivated me and thought I could do it. Or it's somebody said, hey, you're such a great salesperson, marketing person. Have you ever thought about doing real estate? You're right. Nobody grows up with a real estate Barbie or any, it's just not norm. Now that you and I have both graduated college, we won't say how long ago, they now have degrees in real estate. They have multiple degrees in real estate. So it's become much more part of higher education, but back in the day, it definitely was not. All right. So you practiced, you were a realtor, you took those 8 o'clock calls, you took those weekend calls. what was the shift for you to combine the education? Because we've got one of your websites scrolling across the bottom is realestateknowledge.com. It's also dougleedy.com if y'all want to find out more. How did you figure out that you wanted to combine that? You wanted to help people not just monetize, but humanize real estate.
I would say desperation.
Most honest answer. I love it.
As I said, I spent my entire life in the same town, and it was small town, rural America. And I came down here to Fort Lauderdale thinking, okay, I've had 40 years in the industry. I can be an investor when I go down to Florida. And man, did I get my eyes open. I mean, you talk about apples and oranges. I had no idea what I was going to do, because I had no contacts down here. The only person I knew here was my son, who had moved here several years prior. And I didn't know where I was going to go, but I knew if I just tried to wing it, that's a good way to get in trouble. So I was kind of floundering, and I found this organization called Renatus. And right away, I thought, this is something I can do. I went to an investor's luncheon, and I walked out and I saw somebody with a sign on their car, and it said, real estate investor looking for trainee. And I thought, a phone call is free and I might get some good information. So I went to one of our business briefings, and boom, I thought, this can do it for me. Then as I looked into it further and really dug into it and saw the breadth and the depth of it, I thought, everybody needs to know about this, because I knew then that our economy was changing. Honestly, since I first contacted you, or you first contacted me, I've kind of changed my perspective on this a little bit. You were in the business, I think, in the 70s. You probably remember the last time we had an energy crisis and high inflation.
I do.
Do you remember 14.5% mortgage interest and 22%
my parents talking about it. I remember every instructor in any real estate course I've ever been to talking about how that was.
Yes, it was brutal. You couldn't give real estate away. In fact, that's when creative financing first started. And we started out with land contracts, and a lot of lenders wouldn't accept land contracts. But as it evolved, it was the only way that anything could move, and everything has kind of evolved from there.
Yes, it's true.
But it was brutal, and I think we're in for a big change. People in our industry are in for a big change.
Tell us what you think. This is a question I usually ask toward the end, but I love that you're throwing it at me now. I like it a lot. Tell what do you think's coming up? What's the change?
Well, I think interest rates are going to go up. There's no question about it. And I think we have been spoiled. We are so used to these very low interest rates. It's going to freak a lot of people out if it just goes to 6%. They won't let it go to 14.5 again. They'll do everything they can do to stop it. But if they do that, they may even create more problems. So I think we're in for a rough ride. But whenever there's adversity, there's also opportunity. The key is to know how to handle that and know what to do about it. That's why I think what we do as Renatus is so important. The Renatus education that I'm going to talk to people about today is like something I don't think they've ever seen.
So tell us. I think it's super important, because I've had questions before we went live, because obviously I post your bio, I do some promo, and of course people are fascinated by anything that's coming at them that they hear might be different, might be a different approach, might be something that they can hang their hat on. So they had lots of questions,
Sure.
Generic, which I know you're going to answer.
Well, that's the first thing I wanted to talk about was the skepticism. Everybody is inundated with go here and get leads, and we can do things for you here, and we can help you build your business this way. And you just, if you're in real estate, you're getting these things every day. And you're probably getting them every day if you're just a regular, normal person. So everybody, I could hear eyeballs rolling when we first started this conversation. And the first thing I want to do is try to address this skepticism. And I will simply do that by hoping that you go to these two sites here. And I'll give you a little bit of background information, but I can't possibly cover everything that Renatus offers. So I want to get through the skepticism. And I guess the first thing that's important is 82, 37, and 500. Renatus offers 82 courses in real estate and in finance and how money works. And this is something that the education system has failed miserably on. So this is something that you can do without a degree, without a license of any kind, but it will give you the kind of knowledge that you need to practically learn how to invest in real estate and how money works so that you can make money work for you, and you can do things with real estate, both personally and for your clients if you're a realtor. So that's where I'm coming from. It's 82 classes. They're each 6 to 8 hours long. That totals up to almost 500 hours of education.
Wow.
I think if you look to see what a master's degree is, a master's degree is fewer hours than that.
I was going to say, I did not, for my master's degree, do 500 hours. I could tell
No. It is really remarkable stuff. And we have 37 what we call practitioner instructors. So these are people, they're not eggheads, they're not educated eggheads, they're not graduate assistants that a professor pawns off on you. These are people who make their living every day doing what they teach. And there is a stringent process they have to go through every year. They have to show that they've earned at least $100,000 doing what they teach, or they're gone.
Wow.
So this is the real deal. It's practical. And we tie this all in with the formation of local communities of our investors. So you're not in this thing all by yourself. I have spent a lot of money going to these 3-day boot camps and so forth.
Haven't we all?
Yes. And man, you get all pumped up and you're ready to go. And you go home and you wake up on Monday morning and you sit down and you say, what do I do now?
Exactly. That's true. I think people go and they think, wow, if I go to 100 of these, at some point it's all going to sink in. But they have no idea how to implement. We already have a question, which I was going to ask you anyway. Humanize. So it's one thing to monetize. I think people understand the basic concept. Why did you include humanize in there? Why is that because you chose this, and I love this. Why is humanize so important to what you are doing and the mission that you're on?
My whole career, I was kind of looking for something that I could do that could make the difference in a lot of people's lives. And I never was in a position to do that. Once I saw this, I saw an opportunity to really help people. Look, 87% of the people who get a real estate license today are out of the industry within 5 years. So that's a big failure rate.
Yes.
And real estate's probably the biggest wealth building industry in the world. So I want to help people be able to stay in the industry through the good times and bad times and so forth. You have to do more than be a one-trick pony. You have to understand how to diversify your business. Any accountant will tell you, or a financial planner will tell you, diversify your income, diversify your investments. And that's what you can do through Renatus. We have all kinds of classes that we offer, and we have got some tremendous instructors. We got the 4th biggest note buyer in the country teaches our class on how to buy notes and mortgages.
Wow.
The guy who teaches our tax and legal program is an attorney and an accountant, a CPA, And he has written 5 books. He has a national radio program. He's been on all the major financial networks. He is a true pro, and he loves digging into the tax code and finding things that help you that are compliant and legal. And he loves to take on the IRS in that way.
God bless him.
And a lot of accountants are not like that. They like to take the path less traveled.
Do you feel like, and I obviously you feel like the passion that the people, your instructors have, certainly helps humanize it, but it also throws that monetize part in, because what you're doing is what I'm hearing you say is what you're doing is you're giving them the experts who have in it, they've lived it, eaten it, breathed it, suffered through it, succeeded through it, and they're there to help you figure out where you're at and maybe a way for you to take the next step in your journey, or a different step, something to change, because people get caught in the way that they've always done things, and then they wonder why they're not successful.
Well, one of the strengths of our program is its flexibility. Now, as you can see, with all those hours, it's extensive, but it's also flexible. You can start slow, you can start fast, you can go national, you can stay local, you can just do things for yourself. Where I see this helping realtors is they can talk to their clients about this. If you're a young realtor, for example, what's your biggest problem? At least one of them is, how do I compete with these 20 and 30-year veterans?
Yes.
Well, the way you do it is you offer something they don't know about. The veteran agents don't know about this kind of thing, and they're really not too interested in it because they've already got their deal going.
That's right.
So that helps the young agent. As far as those mature agents, how's that for a term?
Wow, that was real good.
Those
Nobody
mature.
never used that word for me, but I understand what you're saying.
Yes, I know the feeling. But what it helps them do is it will help them retire. How many realtors do you know that can never retire? They get so tunnel visioned on listing and selling.
Yep.
And when they're busy, and when they're not busy, they don't have any money. Right. So this is a way for them to plan for their future. And as far as a broker, one of the broker's biggest problems is they train people. They take a lot of time and a lot of money to train people to become agents. Most of them fail, so they've wasted their time. And then the ones that become successful, they want to become competitors.
Yes.
Well, this is one way that a broker can at least tie the people that they train into them for some income long term, even if they leave.
Because that's the challenge right now. Our market is bombarded with some companies that I feel like recently in the last couple of years have come on the scene, and their recruitment techniques are just making a huge impact in the market. And so a lot of brokers are trying to figure out ways to retain the people that they've put so much time and money and effort into. So I love the fact that it also helps the brokers. It's added value. It's also giving them extra tools. Here's the monetize part. But the humanize part's so important too, because I feel like the way it's not always about throwing money at people. People respond differently. Their needs are different, and what motivates them is different. So if you've got all of this in your toolbox with Renatus, then this is a great place for people to start. Now, you don't have to be licensed to get involved. You don't have to be. You can take any of the courses, anyone you want. Is that accurate?
Well, we have packages.
We
have packages, five different packages with different price points and different classes that we offer. If you go to my 2 websites, you'll get that information.
Love that.
And what I'd like everybody to do, if this makes sense to them, is simply, when you go to these sites, you'll see my contact information. Just shoot me an email and put TED Talks interview in the subject line, and then I'll know what it's about. And I will simply put an email together with a couple attachments, some links. I'll send it to you. You can go through it at your convenience, and you will see then what we have. I'll give you a course catalog that'll explain all the courses that we have. It'll give you biographies of our instructors, and it'll give you the philosophy of the company. One thing I did want to talk about, I wanted to mention, is the mission and the vision of Renatus. And here's what it is. Our mission is to empower 1 million entrepreneurs with the knowledge, tools, systems, and support needed to become financially flexible. The Renatus vision is summarized in our support of epic living, combining education, property, income, and community to help individuals to reach their highest personal and business potential. Now, every company has got these, but I can tell you, I have had personal conversations with the founder and the CEO of Renatus, and I know where his heart is, and this is his heart. This is what he wants to do.
There's the heart.
That's helping people. That's what attracted me to this, and that's what I meant by humanizing for me. And you also have the opportunity to do that yourself and humanize this for other people.
Beautiful. All right. Doug, I love your passion. I am so glad that you were flexible enough to continue to allow me to move the show. I knew the show would be great. I want you guys to go to Real Estate Knowledge. It's got the dashes in between .com, or easy, just go to dougleedy.com and you can find everything there. What I'd love to do is bring you back, maybe talk about some of the topics in depth on a regular basis. I think just to let them know some of the amazing things that you all do. But please reach out to Doug. He's just is easy and wonderful to talk to. And obviously the whole goal here is to bring it to you in a way that you can consume it, and a way you can give it back in a method that humanizes and monetizes what you're doing.
And I do not consider myself a salesman, Ted. I'm not going to pressure him.
You're not a salesperson. You're doing it for all the right reasons, Doug, and I love that.
I call myself a guide. I just want to kind of guide people to some things that might interest them.
Well, you did phenomenal. See, it wasn't bad. Just me and you having a conversation.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. Was very comfortable with this.
Well, good. All right, you guys reach out to Doug. All my real estate professionals, I know you're watching. Check it out. Check out the website. Go to dougleedy.com and then find out what it is that you want, and then send Doug a message. Put the TED show in it, or TED, or whatever you want to put in there that references it so he knows, and then reach out to him. Doug, thank you so much for everything. That was awesome.
Well, thank you, Ted. I enjoyed it.
All right. Y'all have a good one. All my real estate pros, you guys are getting in your little ruts. We all are. This market's a little bit of a challenge for everybody. Let's try to expand our knowledge. And by doing that, we can expand our businesses. So we'll see you guys soon.